Kali Linux services configuration. So today we're going to talk about services or daemons. They are programs that run as a background process and they perform many functions for the system. We will cover some of the most important services like SSH, PostgreSQL, and Apache. When we talk about configuration, the main advice I can give to you is read the documentation. Read the package documentation from the maintainer. For example, it can save you lots of time and avoid you some frustrations when things don't work. So read it, please. And a good place to start is the one that I'm going to show you here. Is like slash. So what I'm going to do is I'll do an ls first, slash usr slash share slash doc and slash. So let's see what we have here. So here are all the packages that you have installed on the system. So let's pick one here, probably the one they're going to talk today, so it's going to be easier for you. Let's see, I think we should have like Apache 2. Let's see, yeah, Apache 2. So for example, Apache 2 here, as you see here, is one of the packages that I have installed here. So if you do this again by go Apache 2 and the ls, it will show you a couple of things, and you should always start with the README. So there are multiple READMEs here. So this is news, this is README for backtrace, and this is README for Debian, read for multiple instances. So read that. So keep cat 1 here. So let's try to do this, and then I'll do cat, and let's pick like readme dot multiple instances. Okay, sorry for that. Oops, that's why it's not working. Okay, readme dot multiple instances. So here we talk about what is this about, to explain. So you have to be familiar with this stuff here. And if you want to know what files are included on a specific package, you can use a different command. I will clear here. You can use the command dpkg/l and the package name. So for example, Apache 2. Okay, so those are all of the files that are under that package, right? Another good place to read for documentation is the etc, everything that you can find on the etc directory. Okay, you can also do the command like a dpkg/s in Apache 2. Okay, and this command will show you the metadata and possible recommended or suggested packages that can help you a lot. Okay, you may find sample configurations files or templates under this other directory here. So if you go to ls/usr/share doc and Apache 2, let's see if we have a folder examples. Yes, we do have here. So then you do /examples. So yeah, we have a couple examples here, like Apache 2 monitor, the init script, and the setup instances. Right? This can also help you a lot with that. You could use them to help you to create your own configuration files, for example. Okay, so now let's take a look on one particular services, the SSH for remote logins. So clear this out as well. And well, SSH, right? SSH allows you to remotely log in into a machine and transfer files, execute commands. It's an industry standard tool and service, the SSHD, right, for connecting two machines remotely. The open service, this package here, right? Open services, open SSH package is installed by default, but SSH services is disabled by default, and it's not started during the boot. So if you want to manually start the SSH, this is what you have to do. So we have to do system control start SSH. Okay, that's it. If nothing happened, it's a good news. No news is good news in this case. Or you want to configure it to start at boot process, and then you have to do system control enable SSH. Okay, now every time my system boots, it will automatically enable the SSH for us. Now let's take a look on this configuration file. It's so ls etc SSH and the SSHD underscore config. Okay, it's actually a file, so we can do the cat directly. Look at that. We have a lot of information here that can help you. So let's take a look on its configuration file. So let's use nano for that. Nano /etc /sshd underscore config. Okay, so this is the configuration file for SSH. And the default configuration disables password-based logins for root users. So you need to set up SSH keys with SSH keygens to use it. You can also extend this to all users if you go to these parameters here. So let's see, it's password. Let's see if I can find here. Host name. Okay, this one here, password authentication. And I set this to no. So if I set this to no, okay, if I set this to no, then I'm going to extend we're going to disable the password-based logins feature. So all users with this who have to use SSH keys in order to authenticate, and passwords with only username and passwords will not, authentication user only username and passwords will not be allowed. Okay. There are other things we can check here. For example, the port, right? By default, it uses port 22, but you can change this to the port that you want. So let's confirm what's the port that we need. So look at this. So port 22, okay? That's the default. If I want, I can change the port that I want here, right? But just make sure that I'm not conflicting with any other ports that are already in use in your system. And to apply this settings, you just have to save the settings. I'm not going to save anything here, but you can save the settings, and then you're going to have to run a systemctl reload SSH, and then it's going to be reloaded with the new system. Cool. Okay, now let's take a look on the PostgreSQL. So PostgreSQL is a database server. There is no much applicability by itself, but it's used by many other services that store data. So what happens is that those services will need access to the database server over the internet, and they will need authentication credentials to connect to it. And that's how PostgreSQL can help us. We can configure it to create databases, user accounts, and set up proper privileges that we may want to grant to users to the database. And this is done by, obviously, right, the same. So we're getting used to this, right? That's about services. The system control start PostgreSQL, and we're gonna start the services. Done, it's installed. PostgreSQL listens for incoming connections on TCP port 5432 of the localhost interface on and also on Firebase socket. And all of this can be configured adding the PostgreSQL.com file. So you can go to ls.xc PostgreSQL. Okay, and you have 11. Okay, yeah, that's the file. PostgreSQL conf. So if I do this right now, main PostgreSQL file, I can do a cat here and see what it looks like. Yeah, okay. So this is the configuration file for the Postgres. We should look for listing address for the addresses, the port for TCP port and Unix sockets directories that relates to the file-based sockets. If you open pg_hba conf file, so let's see what is it right now. Yeah, the PG, you see there, PG. Let's take a look on that. PG_. Okay, so if you look at this, here is where you can define who is allowed to connect on each socket and how they authenticate. Okay, so let's do an exercise, a quick one. I'll clear this out. Let's create users. So to do that, you're gonna do su/postgres. Okay, now you're gonna do create user -p. The -p option is it will ask the function to create user, right, to query for a password. So it asks you for a password, ask you after creating the user. So create user, asking for a password, and the username will be Luciano Ferrari. Okay, then I hit enter. So now it's asking me a password, right? If I did not use the -p, it will not ask me the password, right? I put just ABC123, enter again ABC123. Okay, now what I can do is I have to create a database. So I'll do a create db -t, that is the t is for the template, and then I have to reference what template, right? There is a template created, but it's template 0, and then I use -e utf/8, and this is just to enable to use Unicode strings. So I want to be able to use Unicode strings, right? And then -o is just to define, so who's going to be the owner of the database. So the owner will be Luciano Ferrari, and the user will be Luciano Ferrari. Okay, that's it. That's done. That's cool. Now to test if we can connect to the database over the socket listing on the local host as Luciano Ferrari user, so I would just have to do this. So I will do so PSQL -h for host, in which host, the local host, and then -u for user, which user, Luciano Ferrari. Then it's asking me for the password for Luciano Ferrari. We define ABC123, and then that's it. Look at that. So SSL connection protocol, TLS 1.3, and the cipher, the bits and compression is off. And you see that the prompt now changed it to Luciano Ferrari. And you can do more stuff here. If you do help, you can you can issue some commands, your SQL commands or P SQL commands here, or type quit to quit here, quit. Okay, /git man. Okay. All right, that was great. So let's move on now to Apache. Okay, well, that's clear now. So starting a new chapter here. Kali Linux already comes with the Apache web server with the Apache 2 package that you already mentioned, and it's disabled by default. So to start it, you just have to use system control start Apache 2. Okay, and look at that, it's asking for authentication, right? Authenticate it, and then you got it. Perfect. It's simple like that. I'm not going over details for Apache, but it has some models that you can enable that are not part of the main packet, like PHP or SSL. But again, we're not covering the details for this on this session. So what we can do now is talk about managing services to complete this model. So you saw how to use some of the services here, like SSH and Apache, Postgres, SQL, and you see one thing in common is the use of this command system control, systemctl. And this command is also used to monitor a service, or to know about the status of the service. So if you want to control or to manage the service, you always use this. So you do system ctl and then status and then the name of the service. So let's start about Apache 2. So it talks about what's going on here. So it tells me that it was loaded, what is the some references here, the vendor preset is disabled, it's active and running since this time, 1 minute, the main PID, the task is, and so it's useful information. I can do that for any service that I want. So I can do that for, instead of Apache, I can do it for the Postgres, SQL, and then it can tell me that it's also loaded, active and running, how long, and the status of success, and etc. As we did that for the SSH, I can also check the SSH as well. It's active and running and loaded. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoy, and see you next time.